right, we are back with another edition of American Soccer Break. Huge week right now going on because, we are getting into the CONCACAF Nations League. For those who don't know, the U.S. men's national team is back in action. I have Rahi. I have Roy. Roy, where are you right now?
I am konnichiwa, first of all. I am in Shinjuku, Tokyo. Excellent place. I'm on vacation here. Scouting for the U.S. national teams, looking for dual nationals. I hear there's a couple Japanese Americans out here, so that's why I'm here.
They also taught us a lesson. If you remember that friendly, they were fantastic and completely blew us out of the water.
3-0, I think it was. That was nasty.
Let's get into it. There was big news just a few days ago. The U.S. men's national team roster dropped for the Nations League. The interim coach, Anthony Hudson, dropping it. And we're going to get your guys' thoughts in a second. But let's show, do you guys want to see who it is? Or do you guys remember off the top of your head? Or what do you think?
I memorized it, but let's show it for everybody else.
Here we go. So it was Jordan Pefok and here we go.
Jesus Ferreira,
Jordan
Morris.
Yeah.
Jordan Morris. Nice.
Here we go.
Yes.
So there it is. The CONCACAF Nations League roster just dropping. Here's the full roster. Why don't you guys kick it off? Here's some names and just give me your thoughts.
Hit it, Rahi.
I'm excited. It's an interesting roster. Anthony Hudson coming in hot with a very European, Liga MX, South American-based roster. So it's very interesting. He made some choices here. Tim Ream is back in the team, a stalwart at this point. But I think what's interesting is Taylor Booth, really exciting. Zendejas just committed. There's some really exciting players. There's some strange omissions as well, which we'll get to, I think. Tyler Adams is not on the roster because he's injured. The midfield has some interesting choices, Cardoso and Sonora. Overall, I'm excited. There's some interesting young players. It's got some moments that we can focus on. It's a good roster. Honestly, I was pretty excited. It's kind of the way I would have done it.
Going with only one MLS player, I think, is big. This is the first time we've seen this. When's the last time we've seen only one MLS player? I don't think there's been a time. I don't remember that time. I don't think that time exists. So this is the first time we've seen so few MLS players. And I think it's exciting. And I think it's right because the MLS players we've included before, it's more like a comfort zone thing. A lot of people talk about MLS quota. Like, should these players be included? And it's not an MLS thing. It's a individual player thing. It's should Jordan Morris, who is smack in the middle of average when it comes to MLS wingers, be on the U.S. national team? That's the case with most of the MLS inclusions. Acosta's, he's not an elite center midfielder in MLS. He's not even the best center midfielder for LAFC, yet he's a national team player, yet he starts a lot of games. So I love what he did because let's be real, there's no one really standing out in MLS except for probably Miles Robinson, and he was included. Simple as that. The other one is Celentano, who I love. But I think it's amazing not to include him. I think if I were to pick a couple guys that I would have included from MLS, Cade Cowell is one.
Yeah.
That's just so frustrating to not give him that reward for such an incredible camp that he had.
Right. What are your thoughts on the lack of MLS players?
Well, I don't know. I think it's because you're in Japan, Roy, but I feel like we're in an alternate universe. You're a proponent of the fact there's one MLS player because you think it signals the right moves and some kind of growth. I actually don't agree. I think he made choices and it feels like there's an anti-MLS bias in this roster. And I'm not the biggest proponent of MLS. I hear you on Acosta, but Cardoso, Sonora, we've seen these guys. They're not at the level. And I get it. They're international players and they're playing for different clubs outside MLS. But we have seen them and they're not. I don't think they have the pace to compete at a higher level in this midfield. So for me, I have real questions about, did he go in thinking it's early season MLS? I don't want to take MLS players. It feels like there's a bit of a bias because I don't think this is the case where in every position he's taken players that are just better and not playing in MLS, he's actually said, okay, I'm going to bring in this guy because he's new and different. Cardoso, an example. Sonora, an example. Leaving off Cade Cowell, an example. Bringing in Brian Reynolds, an example. These are players that are not playing for big clubs or European clubs, and we've seen them at times. And for me, this feels anti-MLS in some ways, and I'm not so sure. In some ways, I'm excited, but I don't think it signals that we've moved beyond MLS. I think he's actually made choices to cut MLS players in favor of some other international players. So it's interesting.
Yep. I think we're seeing two extremes right now. Whereas before it was, why the hell are these MLS guys here? Why is Jesus Ferreira here? Why is Morris here? Why is Acosta here? We're asking too many whys before. And now is, why isn't this guy here? Why isn't Cowell here? And we got to meet in the middle somewhere. But what I disagree on here is I don't think this is a bad thing. I think this lights a fire under MLS's ass and says, hey, we're not just going to pop in players just because they're MLS and we want representation. We need these players to be killing it. Cade Cowell, even though he had a great Camp Cupcake, he hasn't been killing it for San Jose. I think he's 0 goals, 0 assists in first two games now. So that's not good enough. That's simply not good enough. This was his chance to show, okay, he played really well in Camp Cupcake. Let's see what he does in MLS. He hasn't done anything. Let's not call his ass up. I don't think you need to call up players unless they're killing it in MLS. And we talked about that in the past video.
Yeah, I think, look, I don't know if this is a situation because obviously, it's important. It is a Nations League. But, maybe there's an element here of giving some of these other guys, a chance outside of course, the stalwarts. But, we'll just have to see. So I'm going to transition over to what is really important here. Now we have all the roster. Should we show the roster again? I think we should. We should show it again.
Sure. Yeah.
There you go.
Where's Chris Richards?
That's a very good point, actually. Where is Chris Richards? Where is CCV?
Yeah, my 2026 center back pairing is CCV and Chris Richards. Considering gradual progression, those are my two guys. We're seeing none of them, which is weird.
You might say Tim Ream is number 1 right now on form. 2 and 3 are CCV and Chris Richards in my mind, and neither of them is here. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to see. And now getting to the main agenda coming up with a very tough opponent, Grenada. But no, in all seriousness, though, there have been times where, the U.S. has traveled to Grenada and won by like a single goal and stuff like that. So I will say this, any game when you're playing for a national team, regardless of what country it is, it's going to be tough to a certain degree. But let's talk specifically about this game. We'll preview the El Salvador game next time we come on board. But what are you guys both looking for in this particular game? What do you want to see happen, and what do you want to see the national team accomplish in the trip to Grenada?
My number one thing, and I'm shocked we haven't mentioned it yet, is will Claudio Reyna be complaining from the sidelines that Gio Reyna is not starting against Grenada? That's what I want to see. Am I shocked that he's included? No, of course not. He has to be included. But God, what a drama we're seeing here. So I'd love to see how Gio Reyna integrates into this team, into this game. That's my number one storyline. I don't care about the scoreline. Of course, we should win by at least 4 goals. I care about.
Time out. You don't care about the scoreline.
No, I don't.
Hold on there. So if it's 1-1 going into the 75th minute,
of course. I mean, I'm talking realistically. So
that is a realistic possibility. 1-1 in the 75th minute. Come on. How many years have you watched this team?
So what I mean is, do I prefer a 6-0? Where we just kind of look shitty and it's just defensive mistakes by Grenada, because Grenada is going to be awful. Or do I prefer a 2-0 where we look phenomenal, we're keeping possession constantly, we're dominant, we're playing interesting on the wings, we're doing this new style of play? That's what I prefer to see. I prefer to see beautiful soccer, high level of chemistry, as opposed to a 7-8-0 blowout.
I mean, I care about the score, but I don't care who scores the goals, in the sense that if you score a goal in this game, it doesn't matter. Daryl DK, you score 2-3 goals, you score 1 goal. I don't care. This doesn't mean that and we made that mistake before with Jesus Ferreira. I think I need to see, you're right, is a style of play, professionalism. I want to see a professional performance. I think the problem with this team at this point is that they're young and they're erratic, and there's lacking a bit of professionalism is missing, I think. And it's sort of what we saw in the Netherlands game. Understand this is an important game because it's an important tournament. Show up, get the job done, be clinical, make it seem like there's a huge gap, because there is in resources, in talent. Make that apparent. But I really don't care. I'm not looking for individual goals, scores. Honestly, I'm going to take very little about individual performances from this game. You have to be really good for me to take notice in this game. These are players now who are very experienced.
Yeah.
You shouldn't show up to this. This is playing for the national team. This is, yes, you're going to have some games in bad stadiums against teams that are inferior where the crowd is quiet and you have to motivate yourselves. But this is what it is to wear the jersey, right?
Yeah. But these players, keep in mind, these Central American players and Caribbean players are playing for their lives. Absolutely. They're playing to feed their families, because half these guys don't even play professionally. They have side jobs, they're taxi drivers, they're cooks, they're all these different things in their countries, and they're coming and they know they're about to play the giants in the region.
Yeah, and I think, whenever you're playing for your country, there's nothing better. I'm not going to even ask you guys, what you're watching, because this is the game that everyone should be watching this week, and so, tune in on Friday. I think the game is at in the afternoon sometime on the West Coast,
about Tokyo time.
Yeah, you gotta see what's going on and what time it's in Tokyo.
All our Tokyo viewers, we gotta let them know.
We have to see what happens on the field itself. All right, everyone, have a great week and watch the USA versus Grenada, and see you guys then next time to recap the 7-0 victory or 1-1 draw. We'll see what it all nets out to be. But all right, have a great week. Go USA.